follow, follow me? Whither shall I follow, follow, follow? Whither shall I follow, follow thee? To the greenwood, to the greenwood, to the greenwood, greenwood.
Welcome back. We've now completed the first section of our bag, the gray on mine, and today we're going to work this first navy blue section. In order to do that, we have to make room for the little cord that will be our drawstring. So we're going to learn how to make eyelets. That'll allow us to weave the cord through and then work the bag. Ready? Let's get to it. I have 15 stitches that I knitted on to my needle tip for this little swatch. I am going to work on the knit side first. The purl bumps are in the back. Since I don't want my eyelet to be right up against the cast on, or when I do the bag, I don't want it right up against the gray, the garter stitch area. I'm going to do, oh, I hate these first ones. That's why I like leaving the loop. I'm going to start with 2 rows of stockinette. So for stockinette, if you remember, we knit on one side, and when I flip, I am going to purl on the other side. Make sure your tail doesn't get twisted in there. Tails always go to the back. And here we have that little bit of stockinette that gives us a clear view of our right side, the flat V's of the knit, and what'll be the inside, the wrong side of the bag. I want to create my eyelets on this flat knit side. Now I have 15 stitches, so I'm going to space my eyelets 5 stitches apart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one will be kind of easy to see because they're the lemon yellows before it starts changing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Gotta watch this one because it's split a little bit. And the final 5. So I want my eyelet in the middle here. I'm going to create a loop, which creates an extra stitch, a 6th stitch in a sense, but I want to stay with 5. So how do I do that? I want to work into the middle. These 2 stitches on the end, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, are going to be knit together to keep my 5 stitches consistent. So if they're going to be 1 stitch, my middle is actually here between 2 and 3. So let's see how this works out. 1, 2. That gives me some space away from the seam. I'm going to yarn over. Yarn over is just what it sounds like. I'm going to put the yarn over the needle. I'm just going to leave it there. I'm not going to knit it. I'm not going to purl it. I'm just leaving it there. Now when I come into my next stitch, which was the 3rd one, you can see it looks like I have 4. And the loop is in spot number 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4. What do I do with what's now 5 and 6? I'm going to go in from the back, and I use this finger to sort of roll the yarn over. I'm going to knit 2 together. So you can see my needle is in under both loops, yarn over, and I'm going to knit them normally. Knock them off. You can still see that the 2 loops are there. And now I'm back to having 5 stitches on my needle as before, except when I stretch them out, you can see this nice big juicy hole in here, which is going to be the eyelet for our drawstring. Let's do that again. I'm going to knit number 1, knit number 2, put the yarn over after the 2, that will become number 3. This now becomes number 4. And these two will get knit 2 together. There's the roll. And they become number 5. One more to the end. Now you can see it easily. 5 stitches. 1, 2, yarn over becomes 3, 4, and now 5 and 6 become 5. I still have 15 working loops on the needle. The magic actually happens on this last purl side, because here is where we kind of pull it all together. You can see there are 2 loops where we did the knit 2 together. We're just going to purl into the green loop on the needle like a regular purl stitch. 1, 2, here's one of the eyelets. Even though there's no purl bump on the bottom, work it as if it were a regular purl. 3, 4, 5. Don't think about it too much and your tension will stay even. And you can start to already see the hole we've created. There's our first eyelet. We've got 2 more. 4, 5. Let's see what we have. So on this side, the outside of the bag, the right side, we have this nice flat knit surface. And if I stretch it a little bit, you can see 1, 2, 3 holes, and neither of the end holes are too close to what will become our seams. On the purl side, looks the same. 3 holes. That will make it easier for us to take our drawstring in the end and weave it through the holes. If you've got this down, let's go work on the bag. So here we have the bag so far. We have the 2 inches of garter stitch and we have about a 6-inch tail. I want to attach my next color, which is this dark blue. Because it's a bag and I want my color changes and my seams to be particularly secure, because it's going to take the wear and tear of opening and closing this thing, I'm going to knot my 2 yarns together. If this were a garment that I were doing, I would find a different way of joining that doesn't have the bulk of the knot. But I apologize for random traffic noises. Okay, so I'm going to take my 2 ends and I'm going to go blue under and kind of nestle the twist right against my needle and blue over. And what I wind up with is, by pulling both blues and both grays against each other, I wind up with a square knot, which is pretty secure. Now, you'll notice I did my knotting in the middle of the needle. Although it's more secure for me to slide onto the cable or further from the tip, when I knot, there's the danger that I'll pull this loop tight and that it'll snug up against the tiny cable, and then I'll never be able to get back to the tip. So when you make your knot, make sure you're on the body of the needle, not up on the slope and not on the cable. We're going to move into the second section of the bag. So let's take a close look here. Here's the edge. You can see this one has that twisted rope effect, and this side has the purl bumps. So I want my pearls to be on the inside of the bag. I'm going to keep this twisted edge for my knit side. I don't want my eyelets right up against the garter section. While I untangle, I'll show you why. Because garter is a stiffer, thicker fabric. So if I try to cinch it, it doesn't lend itself to cinching as well as the more fluid stockinette does. So now that I have my yarn out of my cable loop, let's get started. You've got multi-tails here. Make sure they're just out of the way. And our first row is going to be a plain stockinette. You notice I haven't started the meditation. We don't want to do the meditation while we're thinking about counting the eyelets. So we'll start that part when we get to the autopilot stage. You'll see. On this first one, I want to make sure that I don't pull that knot through. I want that knot to remain out there where it will disappear into the seam when we finish the bag. So play with that first one a little bit and then just knit. Okay, there's our first row, the knit row, and you can see we have a clean change from one color to the other. When I flip to do the purl, you're going to notice that now we're getting those ridges and they share the color. So we get this extra little band of color, which will become more apparent as we continue. That's why I didn't want the purl side to be on the outside of the bag. Unless you want that little racer stripe, you want to change your colors on the knit side. So now for our second row, we're going to just purl our way all the way across. Okay, so now we've reached the end of our second row. Let's take a quick look at the cable. You can see it's developed a bit of a twist. So what I do here is I let go of the now empty needle and let it untwist itself. And now we're up to the eyelets. So we know we want to work in sets of 5 stitches. If you remember what we did on the swatch, it was 1, 2, yarn over, that's 3, 4, 5 and 6, or knit 2 together. And we still have 5. So we're going to do a series of those all the way across. 1, 2, yarn over, 3, 4, 2 together for 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, yes. Be careful with that last one because they can be a little strange. Roll it on, and 5. Our eyelets are formed. We flip, and we're going to purl back, straighten out the cable. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yes. Now you can really see the eyelets. They're nice and evenly spaced. And now from this point on, we're just going to work in plain stockinette for the next 5 inches altogether. So we've got, well, it looks like about 3/4 of an inch on there now. We'll measure in a little bit, but this is the point where the rest of this stitching for this section is simple enough that we can take our journey. And we are going to Imram to meet the birch and the horse.
To the greenwood, to the greenwood, to the greenwood, follow tree.
So as we begin, take 3 deep breaths. Find yourself in that place with the 9 stepping stones, and with the intent to go to the other side, let's start crossing. The first stone, the second, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. Here we are on the other bank. We see the salmon leap out of the water once again in greeting. So reach into your pocket, grab one of those hazelnuts, and toss one over to them. Ask where you should go this time to gain more wisdom still. Salmon submerges and in a few seconds pops up again and says, "You need to see a boy about a horse." Go back toward the stepping stones, and this time, instead of walking along the bank, go inland. Just walk directly away from the river. You'll see what I'm talking about and see what they have to tell you. So, with a final hazelnut toss to the salmon, you retrace your steps back to the 9 stones, and this time you turn your back on the river, the stream, and you walk forward. And as you do, you notice there's a little path really there where the grass has been parted in the meadow, and you're going slightly uphill, and you see some trees up ahead. And you notice there's another path coming in from the side, and who would be walking along that path but a boy leading a horse? He waves, so speak to him. Say hello. Tell him you've been sent by the salmon of wisdom. Now you've got his attention. Offer the horse a hazelnut. What is he doing? He tells you that he is gathering his seedlings, and you can see that the horse is helping him carry them, and that they all seem to be the same. What are you planting? And the boy says, I'm planting a birch grove. I have my seedlings, and I'm going to plant them in a circle a little bit up the ways along this path. You want to join me? Would you like to do this too? That would give you a sacred space here that you could always come back to. Do you know your zodiac sign? Show him what you've been doing and tell him your intent with this bag is to create a sacred space for your personal items. Oh, you've got to do this then. So follow the boy on the horse, and a little bit along their path, you see trees, and they seem to be forming a circle. It's a grove. The boy says, I will lend you the services of the horse. Follow your way around, and you'll come to the beginning. You and the horse decide where your beginning is. The horse asks you to take a breath and walk between the trees and stop and look around. So now you're in the center of this circle, and you can feel the energies here. And the horse says, walk on the inside, but be careful where you tread. I'll be on the outside to carry anything you give me. How will I know, horse? We start with birch. Birch is known for growth and beginnings, so it's a perfect place to start. So with that, the horse starts to walk slowly, and you're pacing, keeping pace with the horse. Horse on the outside, you on the inside. And sure enough, you come to a birch. And the horse asks, are you born in the sign of Scorpio? If you are, take your 13 birch seedlings. You'll find them at the base of the tree, and you can put them in my basket. I'll carry them for you, but we're going to continue our way around the circle until we complete it. Moving on, you come to the next tree, and the horse says, this is Rowan. If you're a Sagittarius, take 13 saplings. Moving on, the next tree is Alder for Capricorn. Take your seedlings. The next tree is Aquarius. it's a willow. The following tree is for Pisces. It's an ash. The next one is hawthorn for Aries. The next tree is an oak for Taurus. The next tree, you can recognize this one, it's a holly for Gemini. Stepping forward toward the next tree, it looks a little different. There are 2 trees here, planted side by side, and one looks mighty familiar. The other one, if it's in fruit or flower, will be obvious as well. Cancer shares 2 trees, the hazel and the apple. Moving ahead, you're looking for a tree, and it seems like one is missing. Leo is aligned with the vine, and as you look down, you can see it, strong and tenuous. There are no saplings here, horse. Look carefully. The vine's young shoots travel from under the ground, so look carefully and pull up a root and count 13 leaflets. As gently as you can and carefully break it off right there. If you are a Leo, moving another step or 2 ahead, again, we find a pairing, a blackthorn tree and a reed, a shrub, and these are aligned with Virgo. Finally coming around, we come to the last. This is for Libra, and it is the elder. So now you have your saplings. What you're going to do is you're going to go back a few steps to where the hazel was, pop a hazelnut into the ground, knowing that a baby hazel will be growing to offer a sapling to whoever comes by next and happens to be born under the sign of Cancer. Return to the entrance between elder and birch, where the horse is still waiting for you. And now, from that vantage point, close your eyes and feel what direction are your saplings pulling you in. You can reach between the trees and feel the basket where the horse is holding those saplings for you. Which way are they telling you to go? When you know, open your eyes again, step between the trees, the horse knows the way. Let the horse lead you, and you come in a short distance to a clearing. Doesn't seem like much is growing here. The grass is sparse, but the soil, the earth looks rich and fertile. With the horse's help, the horse will pace your circle. You're going to plant your first sapling. The second step, when it stops, plant your next one. Continue around the circle this way. Why 13 and not 12? There are 13 moons, 13 lunations to the typical year. Since this is your circle, you won't need to really follow all the zodiac signs, just yours. So continue following the horse, and when it stops, plant another seedling until you come back around where you plant your final seedling. This is a good place to stop. Offer the horse a handful of hazelnuts. The horse will take what it wants. You can put the rest back in your pocket, and it's also a good time to stop and measure your work. So let's see what we have. Make sure you're on the body of the needle and that the 0 mark, it's not the clip. You want the line of the 0 mark to be tucked right under there. So it looks like we have about 2.5 inches, a little slightly over. So we know we have another 2.5 inches to go. So we will continue on. And while we're knitting, and while we're sitting in our little grove to be, you're going to notice the time on this side and growth are quite different than they are in the mundane world. We're working with horse and birch. We're working with growth and beginnings. So what is it that you would like to begin to grow in your life? What is it you would like to manifest? You want more of? It can be anything. What is it that you want? Are you beginning a new project, a new chapter, anything, whatever it is that you want to grow in your life? No matter how crazy it may seem, start to think about it and visualize it happening as you continue to knit, safe within your little circle. This is where you're growing your life and your wishes. So take some time and just let your imagination soar. Imagine it happening. See it, hear it, feel it, smell it. The more detail you can put into it, the more intent goes behind it, the more chances you have of actually manifesting this. Now, will it happen magically just because you dreamed it? Absolutely not. But that dream, that intent will give you the focus. You need to figure out what you actually need to do. Dream a little, think a little, dig deep. What do you want to begin? What do you want to grow? Stay in your little grove with your little seedlings and continue to think about this while you work. Let's pause and measure, and I am just about at the 5-inch mark. I want to end so that my next row is a knit row to have another clean shift in colors here. So I'm going to end here. It's close enough. And before we finish our work for this session, let's take a deep breath and start to bid farewell. Look around your grove. Notice anything about your saplings? Have they grown? Are they surprising you? How does the energy feel within the circle? That is the energy of manifestation that you're already building there. So you may notice that the sun is a little lower in the sky, the light is dimming a bit, and it's time to head back. As you step between your seedlings to meet back up with the horse, you find that the boy has now come back and he is standing next to the horse, and in each hand he has a rather large bowl, and he hands one to you. Don't spill it. This is a libation bowl, and the way it works, he says, is this: follow my lead. So he takes a sip. You take a sip from your bowl. It's clear water from the stream. And he says to you, slowly walk around your circle of little seedlings and give each one just a little drip of water. Share your libation, your drink, with each of them. So take a minute to do that. And when you come back to the boy, you notice this bowl is pretty deep because there's still some water left in it. Carry it with you carefully, he says. We have one more libation to give. With that, you follow the boy and the horse as you work your way down the path and back to the first circle of trees, the ones that had one for each zodiac sign. Once again, he says, walk around, and this time I'll join you and give libation to these trees, who also were tree allies on this journey. Travel once more around the circle and give a little drink, a little thank you, share a little of the stream's water with each of the trees that make up this circle. When you come once more to the beginning, there's very little water left in the bowl. Cheers, he says. He finishes the water from his bowl, and you take that last sip from yours. Hand him back the empty bowl, and now work your way back down toward the stream. You come to the point where you met the boy and the horse in the first place. This is where I leave you, he says, and points. The stream is that way. Thank him, or for him, some of the hazelnuts in your pocket, or for the horse, some of the hazelnuts from your pocket, and work your way down back toward the bank of the stream. Before you travel across, take a little side trip, a few steps, and find our friend the salmon. Salmon comes jumping out. Oh, I see you met the boy and the horse. Show the salmon how far you've gotten in your work and offer them a few of the hazelnuts. Finally, turn back toward the land, thank the spirits of place who have protected you and helped you to find these allies and been there guarding you while you were working. Thank the salmon and retrace your steps back to the 9 stepping stones. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Step back onto your shore, your bank, and take 3 deep, grounding breaths. Return to the present, return to our side, center yourself. And again, if you feel a little dizzy, a little woozy from being on the other side for a while, put your hands on the ground. Take some more breaths. Eat something grounding. Hope you enjoyed that. I had fun doing this one. So work your second section, and I will see you here next time when we go around the bend. See you then.